It's kind of a shame that this episode is a sausage party.
Welcome to the Too Old or Pure Gold movie podcast. In today's episode, we're discussing the 1996 action movie, The Long Kiss Goodnight. The format of our podcast, two Gen Xers rewatch beloved movies from our youth to find out, are they really as good as we remember? To help us debate and ultimately pass judgment, we ask our millennial co-host to watch these movies for the first time and help us determine, are they too old or pure gold? I'm your host, Olen Vanderleeden, representing Gen X. Joining me today is my Gen X co-host, Mathew Stockton.
Hello.
Representing the millennials this week, we have comedian and host of the Absolutely Obscure podcast, Josh Fleming.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
And backing us up today, we have the Mitch Hennessy of our group, talented musician Clef Seeley.
Meow!
And before we get into this episode, just a reminder, we need your support to grow this podcast, so please remember to like, follow, subscribe, and maybe tell someone. So today's movie is the 1996 action movie The Long Kiss Goodnight. The Long Kiss Goodnight stars Geena Davis and Samuel Jackson. The movie is directed by Renny Harlin. Renny Harlin is a favorite of the Too Old or Pure Gold podcast, having directed Cliffhanger. He also directed Die Hard 2 before this movie. And then Renny went on to direct other gems, including Deep Blue Sea and Mindhunter. The tagline from this movie poster is, 8 years ago she lost her memory. Now a detective must help her remember the past before it buries them both. IMDb describes the film as government agents come after an amnesiac woman who gradually remembers her past. Neither of those are really that good.
When you put it that way.
No, they suck.
They suck. So let's see if we can do better. So for those of you that haven't seen the movie, I asked my 93-year-old dad to watch The Long Kiss Goodnight and see if he can explain it to you.
The Long Kiss Goodnight. That's a weird title. So what does it mean? Well, who knows? Samantha is a young suburban teacher and mother. She discovers that part of her history is missing. Her memory is jolted by an accidental hit on her head. As a result, she now remembers that she has been a highly skilled, top secret government assassin named Charlie. As a result, she feels the pressure of leaving her family, her amnesia fades, and her repressed lethal personality emerges. And this helps her battling the assassins who now want to kill her. The rest of the movie takes us through a series of combat situations which, and you guessed it, she always wins. In the process, and finally, Samantha reclaims her family life and her school teacher's job. And that is the end of the movie.
Yeah, that does sum it up.
That does sum it up. I'm very excited to hear what you guys think about this movie, because I think it's maybe not that well known. I think it's maybe a little bit forgotten. What did you think?
Well, you know, there's this trope about, like, the female lead action movie, about it just being, like, writing a character that's a dude and then just, like, putting boobs on him. And that to me, was what this movie felt like, in a big way.
Okay.
In, like, a major way. Like, in a, like, almost, like, halfway through, I was like, okay, are we, like, we're gonna pump up the action here? And then when the action started pumping up, I just found it so comical.
Interesting.
Yeah. I actually found out about it, I think, on a list of unappreciated movies a little while ago. So I kind of just recently heard about it. And I was really happy with it. I think I was kind of shocked that, because I like Geena Davis a lot in it. And I'm actually kind of shocked she's not mentioned alongside, like, Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver and those ladies who were all had great action movies. I thought she did a good job.
It's kind of a shame that this episode is a sausage party, because it would have been great. It would have been great to have a woman on here.
I agree.
I actually remember seeing this movie when it first came out, and I watched it again with the era in mind, and because like this movie felt so breakthrough for me at the time. And I think it's like the film lands at an exact cultural moment when it came out where women in action were allowed to be competent, but only if they paid for it in trauma. And, but that doesn't really happen here. So Samantha Cain is suburban safety and Charlie Baltimore is like Cold War violence, right? And the movie isn't asking which one it is real. It's asking which one deserves to survive, and we'll go into it. But I think Geena Davis was just fucking actually brilliant in this film. Like she does this controlled demolition of a nice female lead, like in such a good way, and she plays it with precision. I actually, I think this is a forgotten glory in a lot of ways.
I agree. I'm glad to hear you say that, Matthew. But by the way, we'll get into it, but I think she looks like she could fight, whereas a lot of these more modern ones that we can talk about later, they have really tiny women in them that I think that's potentially problematic. Anyhow, for me, I liked this film when it came out. I haven't seen it since, and I had a pleasant rewatch last night. I think it's a totally fun action film. I think the story's good if you like this kind of movie. The actors were great. I thought the action scenes were pretty innovative. Good effects. This is still in the era of practical effects. And solid acting by great lead characters. And then there was a huge supporting cast behind it that was good too. So I have a lot of good things to say about this. I think it was a solid film with a lot of good lines. Sam Jackson was on his game. Like, this is prime Sam Jackson. And I think Geena Davis was legit as a believable tough assassin in this, which isn't always the case.
I would go ahead to say that, like, my biggest gripe with this film was probably the script. And it's funny for me to say that because when it comes to action movies, I can enjoy the trope of, like, the humor and mixing in the humor with the over-the-top violence. Like, I can appreciate that. And I will say this, that when she goes from Samantha Cain into becoming this new character, this Charlie Baltimore, it is sort of like a face-off switch. Yeah. Like, that level of acting. And to me, like, Face Off is this wonderful movie, like this great example of, like, kind of over-the-top acting mixed with violence. To me, the biggest gripe I have with this movie was the script. There was something about it to me that felt like I just couldn't quite grasp into it. Like, the humor of it felt to me soft. And I could see this being another one of these falling down moments for me, where it's like I just don't quite understand the context of the time. So I can appreciate that right from the get-go, that I did find this movie at least more entertaining than I did in the past other movies that I would criticize. I did enjoy the ride, but there's things about this movie that I was like,
we should never worry about being on the negative side of the movie, because our audience that listens to this, not everybody loves these movies as well, and they want to hear all the opinions.
I don't want to make any enemies.
But see, I think the jokes really landed because they were character based, not
I
cute,
was just
right?
going to say the same thing. I think that the fact that Samuel Jackson, like, right away establishes that he's a guy who likes these corny jokes, really helped it for me.
Yeah.
God, he was so good. This is going to be terrible. I can't remember the joke he had, but when he was talking to the cop at the end, he said, "I'm always earnest and something with."
I'm always frank and earnest.
And what was it? I'm frank in New York and I'm earnest in Chicago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm always frank and earnest when it comes to ladies.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Okay, well, Clef, I just want to say to your point. So, not to spoil the trivia, but 2 trivia facts. First of all, this script was the highest dollar value ever paid for a script at the time, $4 million.
Wow.
And it was apparently quite a bit more than any other script at that time. So $4 million. But you are correct, it was written for a man.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And you guys can guess who they had in mind, and I'll tell you in the trivia section.
Same old.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know, Harrison Ford?
Okay, so I just want to first get into the actors and actresses in this. So Geena Davis, this is her first action lead. She had done Thelma and Louise, A League of Her Own, Tootsie, and The Fly before this. So she was a known actress, but this was her first leading role. and definitely her first action role. And really, this was very, very early in the women in an action lead. Josh, I think you named it Aliens and Terminator before this, but this led to a genre. I mean, La Femme Nikita, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Kill Bill, Lucy, Old Guard, Salt, Atomic Blonde. Like, these are all blockbuster
movies.
And I think that's like I have no idea in terms of how well it did, but my internal feeling is that it kind of arrived before the culture was ready for it. It was maybe like too feminist for the action crowd and too violent for the empowerment crowd. So it kind of sat in this uncanny valley between Alias and Die Hard, and probably quietly got sidelined. Right?
Well,
I can't remember it being a big film. I remember really liking it, but it felt like a quirky sort of film that not everyone will see. So you felt superior for liking it, right?
Well, I could be wrong on this because I have no idea, but because Remy, I looked him up because I wasn't familiar with his work, or I didn't know if I was, and they made Cutthroat Island together.
Yeah.
And wasn't that like one of the biggest bombs in the history of the box office? So that could be.
I've never heard of it.
That's how hard it bombed.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
So it was them. It was like, and they were married in real life, Remy and Geena Davis, and they made that together, and it was awful. So I wondered if it got kind of like the sour taste on it of those two people again. You know,
They made this with the intent that they were going to redeem themselves from that movie, which makes me laugh. And I'll at least spoil a little bit and say it wasn't that successful. But Rennie Harlan, he says his statement is that he thinks the world wasn't ready for a female action lead.
But was it true? This is what I mean, right? Like, so you sold this to me as like the first female action lead movie, which I thought was like an interesting angle. And I will say also, Geena Davis, great actress, really, I thought did a good job with what she was working with. But it didn't feel to me like a character that really embodied like feminine qualities or tried to sort of like lean into that. It very much to me felt like a character who had banter that you would probably expect from male characters, and like things that felt to me like they weren't like impactful to her the way that maybe they would be to a man, or like, you know what I mean? Like there was this feeling that I had about that, and maybe that's just my own limited understanding of people and whatever. Like maybe that's just like a callousness to the character, but like.
And I think that's the whole point, though. I think a lot of the point of the movie is that, that you have to be pure one way or the other, right? And for me, Samantha doesn't get to curate who she is. She doesn't build a new life from scratch. Her past sort of arrives armed and unavoidable. And I don't think she's choosing between identities. I think she's forced to integrate stuff that she'd rather not own. And I actually really like that conflict of these sort of two personalities. And I think it says a lot about, not just women, but who we are as people, and the dark side. We all have the shadow self in some ways, right? And
that's a really interesting way to think of it. I hadn't thought of it that way, and when you put it that way, it makes me kind of rethink the whole thing. I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
One thing that I thought was very dark in this film is when she sort of turned on her daughter. That very small scene on the skating rink where she's like, "Get up, get up. You're gonna skate to the other side." Very dark.
I'll say, but I love the way that they called that back in the end of the movie.
Yeah.
I thought it was really, because I was like, uncomfortable in that scene, and then when it paid off, I was like, okay, they at least played a really important part.
Like a sense that it was intentional. Like it wasn't just
exactly.
It wasn't just the way that a dude would say that, and like it was written that way in the script, and then they just later thought, oh, we should, make this a woman.
And she's so good. Like, did you watch like how? It wasn't just what she's saying, how she changed her entire body language.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like the transformation wasn't cosmetic. It was like ideological.
No, it was ideological.
So well done.
It was like full. It was a perfect example of that type of acting. And I love that.
So
I love that. That sort of thespianism. That like she became a new human.
I think I think this movie shows her acting creds more than anything else she's ever done, right?
Okay, and before I go shallow, I want to say I completely agree with that. But now I want to ask two questions about Geena Davis, because this did go through my mind while I was watching it. First of all, is she tough? Like, do you buy her as tough?
Oh,
when
yeah.
when she's tough, absolutely.
And when she was all tied up, or like you could see her arms, she looked jacked.
And then a question for half the panel here. Is Geena Davis hot or not?
Yes.
I was a little confused because at some points I would look at her and go, she looks very manly and tough. And then other times I'd look at her and go like, oh, she's curvy.
I found her hot when she looked manly and tough.
Well,
Of course she did.
I mean, I was a big wrestling fan as a kid, so lots of my I'm very skewed towards tough women that could beat the hell out of me. So
Oh.
yeah.
Superfly.
We found Josh's kink. That's good.
Yeah.
Only took us 89 episodes.
No kink shaming, Olen.
I could have told you that on the first one I ever did it.
Just got to ask the right questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so spoiling it that this movie was not successful, and I'd like to try to figure out why. I have a question for you guys. Why did the Bourne series work, Jason Bourne, and not this? Because it's, in a lot of ways, the same story.
I actually did have a question about the script. You said it went for so much. Was it original or is it adapted from a book?
I think it's an original script.
Interesting. Because the Bourne were books, right? Pretty popular ones.
Yep.
So that could be a.
But could Jason Bourne have been Justine Bourne? You know, like, could that have worked? The Bourne identity? I think maybe.
I think the culture just wasn't ready for it, Olen. I think that's
Yeah, I think that's the answer too.
right. It was just too far removed, and people's headspaces sort of, it takes time to overcome. And I don't want to sound like I do not want to sound like a fucking Gen Z social warrior, but it takes time to dismantle the patriarchy in a way, right? And it's true. It does. My husband and I, when we watch a movie and we suddenly, there's a few things that we go, wow, that was good. So when we watch a movie and suddenly we realize it's all female characters who are the heroes, we're like, that's fucking cool. We never got that when we were young, and it's so refreshing. Or when the black people don't die in the horror movie first, or or where the gay people are just like normal dudes that aren't either not dying of AIDS, or they're not sort of a hairdresser that's like flamboyant, and they're just guys.
They can even be podcasters.
That's why we like that's why we like this rivalry show, the hockey one, because just from a gay perspective, it's so refreshing, right? It's just so refreshing, and I think, but it takes time for the culture to change, and I think, Olen, I think they should remake this and relaunch it, and it'd do well.
I think it would do great.
And another point to that too is I think we kind of touched on this when we did Action Jackson too, but I think a lot of the times they can make a white male lead action movie and it doesn't do well. They're going to make another one tomorrow, whereas if you make one with a female or a black actor and it doesn't work, they're like that doesn't work.
That proves the point.
We're done with that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, changing the tone a little bit here. Josh, if you walked into your kitchen and saw your girlfriend breaking someone's neck, would that affect how you feel about her?
Well, again, I like Geena Davis, so my biggest content with the movie was that this guy looked at her like, oh my god. I would have been like, whoa.
Josh just told us his kink. He had a boner in that.
Yeah, it's like, I have the weirdest boner right now.
No, I was happy, but I was mad that he wasn't into it. That's what.
I think he was. He just needed a moment.
He got there in the end, which was nice.
Yeah, he did. Then my next question about this movie: in that attack on the house when the one-eyed bandit came in. Oh, that's a poor way of referring to him.
That's what I referred to myself in.
Anyhow, the one-eyed villain.
I wonder if that was intentional.
And that's not a euphemism.
They were just working that in. They just thought.
In that scene, the attack on the house, my question is, why didn't the cops have more questions? Because they just sort of walked away from it. It's like, okay, we'll let the cops clean up. We'll go off and do our detective work. I kind of thought they would stop her and ask a few questions.
Well, because that would slow down the movie, dude.
Well, she really gave them all of the answers, so they didn't really have to, The guy broke in, and then she defended her property, and then, you know.
I also got to say, one of my favorite things, to try and assassinate someone, and then include, like, your plan is to involve 20 caroling strangers as witnesses? That's insane.
Exactly.
Also, I loved his gun that blew a fucking hole in the side of the wall.
I know, that was like a John Wick type gun. Oh boy. That wall didn't seem to be properly built either, for the record.
Yes, that's right. And I did also love her using the fridge door to block the bullets at, though. I thought that whole fight scene was great.
I thought the fight scene was... I mean, there was a lot of great action in here, and I thought a lot of it was pretty innovative as well. Like, there's not just all repeated stuff from other movies.
I don't know, some of it left it to be desired. I thought the skating was a little bit corny. I thought...
Come on, it's Olympic season. You can't get into the spirit of it.
I thought we didn't even talk about how this is a Christmas movie yet.
That's actually that's actually the skating open is part of my worst parts, and I'll talk about that.
What? Okay, when we
also,
get there,
why did that grenade explode like that way? Like a backdraft
exploded that whole top floor of that building.
I love a good explosion.
Now we're getting into it. Well, when we get to it, I had the skating in my favorite parts, and the only thing I thought could have made it better is if there were kids playing hockey and she had body checked on her way through.
That would have been awesome.
Wouldn't it be great just plow a kid over on your way?
The thing is, that would have made perfect sense in this film. Like, I wouldn't have blinked twice. I would have been like, that's great.
I got two quick questions for Matthew, then we can go to best parts. So in the scene, that's what chefs do, where she's chopping and then throws the knife through the tomato in the wall and says, that's what chefs do. Matthew, you're a cook. Is that what chefs do? Do they throw their knife?
I do that all the time.
Yeah. Okay, good. Just glad to fact check that. And I have to ask you this, Matthew, since we're talking about Harlan films, do you prefer this or Cliffhanger?
Oh, God, this.
Okay.
Absolutely. And there's
I like them both a lot. I mean, I would find it hard to say.
There's an actor in this film that I hung out with at a party once, actually.
Oh, which one?
Brian Cox.
No way.
Well, this was early in his career.
Yeah, I hung out with him and his wife, who is German, and we talked about the German punk band Einstürzende Neubauten. So, yeah, it was fun. It was at a club in New York.
I would say the one awesome thing about watching this movie now with the stellar supporting cast is every time an awesome actor showed up, I was like, oh, here's going to be our big villain, and then they would die a few scenes later.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I was surprised he died.
Yeah.
By the way, in defense of my unfortunate euphemism, I'm just looking at the cast right now, and that villain, his character name was One-Eyed Jack. So
yeah,
nice.
One-Eyed Jack.
Okay, best parts.
Best parts. Okay.
No, I'm going to lead. Discovering you have secret agent skills.
Very cool.
That would be great. I keep hoping every day when I'm chopping carrots that all of a sudden I'm going to start dialing it up.
I feel like your whole life has been building up to that moment that you discover you're a sleeper agent.
You have the weirdest way in with these things, Olen.
I know. Well, I can give you the rest of them. So I loved the action in this film, actually. So skating with a gun, right, which you said, Clef, I loved it. Like I said, I just needed a kids playing hockey in the middle would have made it better. Jumping out of a window into a frozen lake, cool.
Oh, that was awesome.
Yeah, and like shooting the ice.
Yeah, I forgot to write that part down, but I did love that.
Because when she was shooting the ice at first, I was like, is she trying to propel herself upwards with the power of the weapon? But then when she hit, I was like, oh, actually, that is plausible.
Because if I did that, I would have a hard time orienting myself towards the ice. I'd be spraying bullets up and around. I would shoot the guy I jumped out the window with by accident. Like, it would be horrible. Okay, I got lots more best parts, but you guys go.
I have a lot of mine. I think are kind of be in lines as well. I love the I forget who it was now. I don't have it, but he asked Geena Davis, "Do you guys, And she's like, "What emotions?" And he's like, "Stick our fingers in between our hands." Yes, as often as we can. I thought that was good. I really like the kind of main bad guy dude. I don't know the actor's name, but. He was like torturing the one guy, and he gets a phone call, and he like looks to him like, ugh, I gotta take this. Like he was annoyed about the phone call.
And another good line in that phone call too, where he's like, boss, I think he's dying. And he says, great, continue dying. Over and out.
Yeah. That was good.
Craig Bierko is his name.
He really does Crazy Eyes very well.
Yeah.
His acting, his face acting, he really had the I can do it too. The big, that's the crazy eyes, Yeah, I won't kill you, man. Yeah. It's good.
I really like Sam Jackson, the car. They're talking about the being cold, and he's like, okay, you can turn on the heater. And and he's like, it doesn't work, but it makes a hell of a noise. It really distracts you from the cold. That was good.
Mine, so the kitchen knife moment. So I thought that was great because it's sort of, domestic space casual violence, muscle memory. The bridge explosion, I think, is one of the cleanest stunt action scenes of the decade. There's no CGI mush. It's just physics, timing, and consequence. It was an excellent scene. The motel room interrogation flip, I think there's a really interesting tonal flip there where the power dynamic reverses, and Davis doesn't raise her voice. She lowers it, and authority enters and all the comedy drops. I think Samuel L. Jackson recognizing that he's outmatched.
Yes.
So he clocks, not fear, just recognition. He clocks that this woman isn't improvising, and his performance sells the stakes because he never pretends he's her equal. Which
he just falls in line right away.
Yes. I even loved the line where he was like, "Hey, I'll be waiting for you to come save me." I thought that was great.
Yeah. So he was Samuel L. Jackson was really good in this film because he was like the audience surrogate with a conscience. So, he's this low-rent private eye who understands that power leaves a mess and someone has to clean it up, right? That's it was his job sort of thing. And he kind of oddly grounds the film morally, right? Which is really weird. Like Samuel L. Jackson grounding the film morally, right?
The sex scene, the scene where she moves on him, and right, that. What an interesting whole dynamic.
And he's like,
last time I was blown, candy bars cost a nickel.
Yeah.
Well, Matthew, if I could say, I had in best part Sam Jackson. I thought he was great. And it wasn't just comic relief. And think about that one scene where he was captured and naked and lying in the basement, and he looked terrified.
Yes.
And then Charlie comes and saves him, dramatic acting. He switched it back and forth. He played it just right. No wonder that guy is a successful actor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I meant to say Geena Davis sliding down the light cord and all the light bulbs exploding. I thought it was pretty sweet.
Made me want to try that. I've still got some Christmas lights up here. I might just go up on the roof later. Okay, so I have an idea for worst parts too. So one of the reasons why I think this movie may have struggled is I actually think it's too long.
The pacing is really weird in this movie.
Yeah.
And there were many scenes that I thought could have been cut out to tighten it up. There was that weird mirror scene where she's looking in the mirror at herself. I thought you could cut that all out. A lot of the background on Mitch was fun, but was it really necessary? I feel like if they had maybe trimmed 15 minutes, it would have been a little tighter.
See, I'm the only one on this show that I love settling into a 3-hour Turkish film, right? I don't know. It's just I don't mind the silences and long story.
I would say I was a little confused at first, trying to follow all the characters when they were introduced, who they were and what they were to do with the storyline. But I would say I'd rather just I'd like to rewatch it, I think, and get it. I feel like I'll like it more on a second viewing.
I had in worst parts. It's not bad, but it just that hit yourself on the head and then you suddenly remember trope. And the only reason I had it on worst list is because it always takes me back to Gilligan's Island, where he was always getting hit on the head with coconuts and then remembering what he forgot.
I think for me to talk a little bit more about that pacing, I also agree that there were things that just didn't seem necessary. At the beginning of the movie, there's this character, this Nathan Walderman, this old man that was the one who trained her, there was this whole backstory that he had to offer. And they even gave him this cool line that he has on the phone. I've got that in my best quotes, was his whole thing with his wife, the whole story. I think that's really funny. And then when he saves them, they don't trust him, so they leave, and then he just gets killed. And it's well, why was he even there then? Why did they even work that in? It was this there were these characters that just, it seemed to me, popped up to support this, I agree, good dynamic between Samuel L. Jackson and Geena Davis, their characters and the acting and all that, but around them, just kind of this like weak cardboard setup and storyline where things just happen in these strange places to me and like strange times.
And do you think it would have been better if they tightened up the editing a bit, Clef? Like take out some of those scenes?
It felt to me like they did try to cut the editing. It did seem like there were moments where things were edited to be like really fast and moments happened really quickly. Like, for example, tracing the call, using the ANI, breaking into the, the telephone switchboard and threatening everybody at gunpoint to figure out where this call is coming from, to find out that it's from Niagara Falls, right? They took like 5 minutes to establish that they were going to Niagara Falls, and then just shing, cut, and then they're in Niagara Falls, and like what, where, and I don't know.
Yeah, if I had to call out one weak point, I think there is some bad editing in this.
Some bad and like spacing and like framing, and story just felt to me fragmented.
Okay, now we're going on for a really long time talking about the length of the film.
Yeah.
That's great.
Great.
I think for a movie that kind of has like intelligence agency things, I like that the bad guys, I think they were kind of dumb a lot of the time. I really laughed at the part where they were just openly discussing their plan to plant the car as evidence and explode it, and over the radio, over their walkie-talkies. It's like, that doesn't seem very smart.
Yeah.
Also got so sad at the end when the president was like, talked to her when she went back to her old life, and he was like, don't worry, I'm going to work on making teacher pay higher. And it's like, he never got around to that, I don't think.
For me, the worst parts, one was the ice getting cold open. So you have this like when she's all momish, it's elegant, it's symbolic, but it's doing way too much work too early. So it's like using this metaphor way too loudly before it's even earned it, and you can feel the studio kind of going, make her feminine first, right? Yeah. I really felt that. I think sometimes the cartoon henchman energy, a few villains felt imported from a lesser movie.
Yeah,
agreed.
If I'm honest,
totally,
right?
yep. Totally.
I think Brian Cox's accent choices. Cox is never bad, but this is peak '90s Zero villain mush, and I think sometimes the amnesia as gimmick moment. So at its best, the amnesia was authentic. At its worst, it was mechanical, and it was existing just to delay information that we already understood. Right.
Right.
So, yeah.
I also liked Geena Davis using Brian Cox's dick gun to shoot that guy.
That was fun.
Dick gun was a good move.
yeah.
I'm going to transition to favorite lines by sharing my last worst part, which is, you guys know how I feel about David Hasselhoff, and I felt a personal attack in there when the bad guy said something scared him. I know, Baywatch Nights was on last night. So, yes, that offended me. Okay, favorite lines.
Life is pain, get used to it. Chefs do that. We came up with that one.
Yep.
Oh, one of my favorites is when you make an assumption, you make an ass out of you and umption.
I had that. That's great. That was
And
great.
Die Screaming Motherfucker was pretty good. But yeah, those are my favorites.
I had when Charlie said, "Were you always this stupid, or did you take lessons?" And Mitch said, "I took lessons." I really liked this line when they introduced Nathan before he picks up the phone. He's having dinner with his wife, and she's like, "What's wrong with the dog?" And he's like, "Well, simple. It's been licking his asshole for the last 3 straight hours. I submit to you that there is nothing there worth more than an hour's attention. I should think that whatever he is attempting to dislodge is either gone for good or there to stay."
That was a good line. Oh, I like You Can't Kill Me, I'm a Mom as well.
I liked, so when you had Brian Cox's character Nathan, and he rolled up on the attack at the farmhouse, and Mitch says, "How did you find me?" "I found you in your address book from your pocket, somewhere between this recipe for cornbread and the penis drawing." It's not a penis, it's a duck.
Oh, God.
That whole scene was hilarious, and the picture of
funny.
the duck penis was hilarious.
I also did like in an action movie them just not taking their chances and being like, this guy could be a bad guy, and like knocking him out and taking off. I thought that was good. You don't see that lots.
Okay, You guys want me to roll into the ranking?
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I had a
sure.
couple lines, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
I liked when she asked Sam Jackson after that interaction, like, what are you thinking about? He's like, I'm thinking about how much my balls hurt. That's great. I also love when at the very last showdown, and that guy pulled out the knife, and she was like, only 4 inches, and he's like, you'll feel me. I thought that was a good back and forth.
Yeah.
And I also really liked her threatening that chubby kid smoking. Like, when she just rolled back into town and was like, morning, Raymond. Tell anyone you saw me and I'll blow your fucking head off. And he's just like terrified.
He just throws
Thought
smoke away.
Yeah, Josh, the one-liners were good in this, right?
Oh, yeah. I liked them a lot.
I thought there were a ton of them, and they were pretty good. Not just cheesy, they were pretty good. Okay, now I'm going to tell you guys how this movie did, and I think we all suspect it didn't do well, but according to Box Office Mojo Worldwide, The Long Kiss Goodnight was the 46th biggest earner at the box office in 1996. But, honestly, sometimes they get it a bit wrong because the revenue didn't all come in the same year. So if I look at what it earned, in total, it would have been the 19th biggest earner ahead of The English Patient. Thank God.
Wow.
Independence Day was the monster and the leader at the box office this year, and Long Kiss was beat by other action films like The Rock and Eraser. However, it still beat out a bunch of great films. Broken Arrow, not so good. Executive Decision, not so good. Daylight, not so good. So maybe it was properly positioned. In hindsight, maybe actually not the best year for movies beyond the top 10 because there's a lot of junk in there. Braveheart was the Oscar winner this year, and honestly, Charlie's much hotter than William Wallace. By the numbers, so. I should make you guys guess the budget instead of the box office. What do you think it cost to make this film?
Is that not including the expensive scripts?
It would be including the script. It would be including the
Okay,
script.
well, we know it was
Script
more
was
than
4
4
million. It was
We
more
know
than
it was
4.
more
Wow.
than 4 million. $35 million.
$40 million.
That's around where I was thinking too. I'll go that they overpaid, and I'll do I'll do 50 million.
The budget surprised me more than anything else than the box office. The budget was 65 and it earned 89.
Wow.
$65 million.
So it's not that it did so poorly at the box office. 89 million in 1996 is not bad. They spent too much on it.
Yeah.
All
Too
right.
many locations.
So this is going to be, I think, a tougher one to guess. Rotten Tomatoes, critics and audience, what do you guys think out of 100?
Oh, God.
I'll go first. I'm going to say that I don't think... I'm betting the critics didn't... I don't know now. Critics... I'm going to say critics 60, and I'll say audience 80.
Okay.
In some ways, listening to you guys talk about this, I would feel like maybe critics did like this movie more. So I would be willing to go with critics 72. And then I would go audience maybe 65.
Matthew?
Critics, 60. Audience, 66. Price is right.
Okay, you guys did great on this, especially the critics. I would have guessed the critics being low, below 50% for some reason, but critics were 67 and audience 71.
Okay.
So you guys all did really well. Low score wins. Josh, you had a 16. Matthew, you had a 14. And Clef, congratulations, you had an 11.
Wow. It's
This is a tough one.
I think this is kind of a cult film in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's like a big budget cult film.
It's a cult film, but I don't know how well known it is. If you mention this title to, okay, Josh and Clef, you're the millennials here. If you mention this title to your friends, does anybody know this movie?
No.
I do
telling
have
people
one.
about it all week.
Yeah, you have. You've been
And
telling
they
people?
didn't. Nobody knew about it.
I had one friend who told me he's a film guy, and I asked him about it, and he said that it's okay. It's pretty good.
I think I get film people would understand it. Like you think said Matthew. I think it is probably a bit more of a cult movie, and it sounds like it just suffered from not making too much of a profit. Because of their overblown budget. That's crazy.
89 million in 1996 is not a bad box office take, but 65 million is so much money. Okay, I got a little bit of trivia for you guys this time. So, Josh, you already mentioned it. Geena Davis was married to Rennie Harlan at the time. This one I like. Samuel Jackson claims that Mitch is his favorite character of all time.
I read that too. That's cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clef, you said it seemed like a female put into a male role. It was written for a male role, and anyone want to guess who there were two people listed that were considered for the choice. I bet you guys can get at least one.
Tom Cruise?
No. Steven Seagal and Sylvester Stallone were both considered.
Wow.
I'd love, but I have to say, I would love to see Steven Seagal on skates.
I was just thinking that. Awesome.
I'd like to see him teaching a class.
You can't kill me. I'm a mom.
Does he still? Would he still play a woman though in the character?
Well, probably. Geena Davis actually trained for that skating scene. Apparently, she trained a long time to make that look realistic. This was done by New Line Cinemas, and at the time of release, this was their biggest production to date. So they thought it was going to be huge. In the original draft, Mitch died from his bullet wounds, but they did test screening, and the audience revolted, so they revised it so he lived.
I mean, they still clearly used the footage where he died, because I did think that in the end when he drops and when he's lying there, I was like, he looks dead, and I think he's probably dead, but they're gonna bring him back. So to hear you say that makes me think that he actually did die, and they just thought, okay, we gotta edit him alive.
It's exactly, edit him alive.
Yeah, I thought the surprise of him just being in the car and driving out of the truck was pretty cool too.
And Josh, did you ask me if this was based on a book?
Yeah.
So it was loosely inspired by Robert Ludlum's Born Identity.
Oh.
There you
That
go.
makes sense.
Amnesia. Okay.
So woke or joke, I have one candidate and I have one anti-woke. So the candidate is the drunk Earl titty grab, very early.
Yep, very
Remember
early.
she was driving that old drunk guy home and he just went full out, grabbed her boob while she was driving?
Yep.
Right.
I mean, he
then
burned
also-
alive for his crime. But
Yeah, he burned alive, and then also when I was reading about it on Wikipedia, it said that he got mild. It was like a mild car accident. They described it as a mild car accident. So when it happened, I was like, "Whoa!"
By the way, she should have been wearing her seatbelt. This has come up in other movies. And then my anti-woke. I don't know why I liked it, but when she was driving with Mitch and he saw that lady with big boobs jogging, and she says, "Oh, it's so exciting! You saw her titties." I thought that was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I also love a character trope of every time you're driving, seeing a hot woman, being like, "Whoa!"
and nearly dying. Too.
That's a crazy way to live life.
Yeah.
My
I know.
father used to do that.
Yeah. I've been in a truck. I worked with a guy. He was in a moving company where he did that in a moving van. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
However you guys felt about this movie, I promise you there's others who liked it more or less than you. And for this movie, there were 71 10-star reviews out of 383, so pretty liked. In the reviews, this movie has been referred to as the best action movie ever, the best revenge movie ever, the best movie of all time. It was referred to as the perfect action movie, but the most predominant theme is everybody said this was underrated, which I think that one is true.
Yeah, I'm so glad you actually chose this movie, Olen, because I forgot about it completely, and I really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah, me too. Let me read a couple of the 10 stars just to give you a flavor. Sam Jackson and Geena Davis had great chemistry, violent but not gory. The fact that the female part was a competent action lead is a pleasant turnabout. Nice. Next review, I feel extremely sad for some of the people who have been reviewing this film. It's apparent that their standards are so high they will never be able to enjoy a film just for enjoyment's sake. And then last one, this should be at the top of your Christmas viewing list along with Die Hard.
Mm. Yes.
I kind of agree. I'm always looking for good Christmas movies, and I forgot that this was entirely set at Christmas.
I think if you count Die Hard as a Christmas movie, which you should, I think this one belongs on that list too.
But by the way, her boyfriend in this movie, what a lucky score. Not only do you get a good-looking woman, but she can take care of herself and she brings home a sack of money.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
That's a lot to bring to a relationship.
It's true.
Now we hear from people who liked it less. For this movie, there were only 11 people who gave this movie a 1-star review compared to the 71 10-star. And like it or not, 1 star it's not deserving of 1 star in my opinion. Anyhow, I'll give you a sample. If you want American rubbish, this is it in spades. This film will appeal to people with an IQ of 0.
Holy shit.
Oh,
It's a little harsh.
you
Yeah.
you guys have been told. I once read actors are similar to prostitutes. They'll take any role if the money is good enough. The example here is Geena Davis.
I don't agree with that either.
Yeah.
And someone whose name is Hollywood Sucks, I think they're biased, says, this is not worth 5 minutes of your time. Tired, trite, boring, stupid. If you're an intelligent movie viewer and not obsessed with action flicks, don't waste your time. Matthew, you're an intelligent movie viewer. Josh,
This is a
Clef,
great
you guys
film.
all are intelligent movie viewers.
That last one sounds like AI to me.
Yeah, I think give it a watch, and maybe I don't know, maybe give it more than 5 minutes. Maybe that was
Yeah.
that guy's problem.
That's the problem. The first 5 minutes were a bit slow.
Right.
Siskel and Ebert. Let's find out if they liked this. Do you guys think there's any chance they liked a movie like this?
I'll say
No.
one of them. I'm gonna guess one of them. One of them did.
They didn't like it.
Siskel said that the sheer bravado of the escalating level of action won him over and said that some spectacular stuff was done here. Ebert said that The Long Kiss Goodnight has a lot of energy and a lot of craftsmanship and will probably do the job for hardcore action fans, but not for him. It just seemed to be going through the motions. Ebert shit on Shane Black's screenwriting ability, and Siskel praised it. So they were very mixed on this, one thumb up, one down.
Shane Black can be hit and miss, but yeah.
Yeah, and I felt that. I felt the Ebert criticism.
Next category, remake. Does this movie deserve a remake or sequel? Would you guys
Yeah.
have liked to have seen more?
Yeah.
I want it to be remade, make it more contemporary. What's the word?
Contemporary.
Yeah,
Yeah,
build on that
and-
character. Build on
Yeah.
that Charlie Baltimore, Samantha Cain dynamic. Build
Who
on...
would play Geena Davis's part?
Ooh.
Now.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I don't know.
Well, you know what's interesting?
We can't
I think-
name one woman.
I'm thinking about this.
Trying
Well,
to think of someone her stature that would be good.
Yeah.
well, you've got like Atomic Blonde with Charlize
Theron.
Theron, and she was great in that. But I was just thinking about all those movies. So I've got a comment here. It never got a remake because of box office results. And in the modern age of movies, with movies like Atomic Blonde, it seemed unnecessary. That's what I found on the internet about it. But all of those movies, Matthew, you
It's
make an
so okay.
interesting point.
Can I just stop there? So because we have other women action films, this another one seems unnecessary.
Right.
We never say that about male action films.
Yeah, woke a joke. Well, the comment I was going to make, Matthew, is that when I think about all of those films, most of them are like an orphaned girl that gets put in some Russian spy
Sure.
Yeah.
school that gets taught how to be. I can't think of any other where it's a mom that then becomes an assassin.
Yeah,
So
it's never like, Tom Cruise, for example, where it's like he's always been a badass.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's just been that way the whole time.
yeah. So I thought this was pretty unique.
If they did remake it, would you think they would drop the amnesia part? Because now that since the Bourne movies did come out and were popular, I feel like they'd be like, could she just be in hiding or something like that, like Witsec or something?
I really like the amnesia part. Now I like the Bourne movies too, but I think the amnesia part is cool.
I like the sleeper agent dynamic. I thought that could have worked. I mean, this movie had so much psyop stuff. I was surprised that it didn't also work in like the, like why they had to drill in this it's amnesia kind of thing.
I do like the domestic character that then is a tough guy or an assassin. I'm thinking about the Substitute movies with Tom Berenger, where he's just a teacher, but he's actually a military assassin.
The
And
Substitute is so good.
the kids make a mistake by mouthing off this substitute teacher.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's another episode. I'll put you on that, Clef.
Okay, sweet.
Okay, we are at the end of this podcast, and I need to ask you guys, is The Long Kiss Goodnight too old or pure gold?
So I think that this is in the mid 90s. This was a quietly radical film. I loved how they didn't make her choose softness, but in the end, just not let either self dominate, which was incredible for the time, and I think it still holds up. So I'm saying pure gold.
Yeah, I'd jump on that train. I think it was. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, I really want to watch it again. So I'd give it pure gold as well.
Well, I felt like this was a good conversation overall, and that there was a lot for me to think about overall, and I was pretty open to having my mind changed, but I still don't think that I can get over the script. I still don't think that I can quite get over my own feelings about the kind of the inconsistencies in it. So to me, it still doesn't have that kind of the weight and gravitas that we're talking about for a pure gold. I have to say too old in this case.
You got to stick with your opinions. For me, it is pure gold. I really enjoyed rewatching it. It was a vague, recollection in my memory of this movie, and it turned out to be as fun as what I remembered. So I'm happy with it. And with that, I want to say thanks, guys, for doing this one with me. I always enjoy it. Josh, thanks for joining. Clef,
Thanks for having me back.
Good times.
See you, Clef.
Take it easy.